Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Thank you. My name is Margaret Okada-Sheck. I'm an Associate Director of Admissions here at Harvard Divinity School. Thank you all so much for being here. We're so incredibly thrilled to have you join us today, and we hope that all of the day's events, which there are very many, will help you in your discernment process to figure out whether or not HDS is the right next step in your academic and professional futures. I just wanted to talk to you about a few additional things that are happening and some housekeeping. So the first thing is there's been a few changes to the lunchtime schedules. If you take out your schedules, I know it's really a ton of information. There's lots of concurrent open office hours, open classes, panels, and so it is a little bit of a choose your own adventure. The only sort of main guidelines are, like, if you're going to go to a class, if you could just stay for the arrive to classes on time and stay for the whole class, just out of respect. Also, I recognize it's sort of a really intense week for many, many people, but we ask that you sort of try to focus while you're here. So if you could just put your phones on silent or vibrate. If you have to make a phone call, if you could just go to a different part of the area of this building to take the phone call, we really appreciate that. For the lunches, on the registration table, there was a lunch diagram, and it's basically, there are faculty and staff and denominational counselors who are eating lunch with all of our prospective students today from 12 to 1 or 1 to 2 in 2 different locations. And so that's the best place for you to find out, oh, like, you know, these are the faculty I'm really interested in seeing. Okay, maybe I can have lunch with them, or a denominational counselor. So that diagram, which is on the registration table, is the best way for you to find out who's coming. One person who is on the list, who was recently added, is Liza Stern, who is our Jewish denominational counselor. Unfortunately, they're now available for lunch. In addition, unfortunately, we had found out that Stephanie Paulsell, one of our faculty members who has open office hours and today and was offering a class, is unfortunately out sick today. So unfortunately, that's a last-minute cancellation. If you, for lunch, if you have dietary restrictions, and you probably let us know about that, which we thank you for, please go to the Braun Room, because that is the place where we have all kosher meals or other types of food. And you can obviously bring the food with you to, if you want to go to Rock or whatever, but if you have dietary restrictions just for lunch, please go to the Braun Room. This is a pretty green campus, and so we ask that everybody sort of cleans up after themselves and also disposes of trash in appropriate receptacles. We have recycling, compostables, and all of the dishware, food, drink, all of the cups and things, those are all compostable. So if you can please put it in the appropriate bin, we'd appreciate that. If you brought luggage to Andover Hall today, so like you came to the hall directly and you brought your luggage here and we took it from you, please come get it at 4:30 from the registration desk. If you do not pick it up at 4:30, we're going to take it to the Divinity Hall, which will be open for luggage pickup until 5:30. If you brought your luggage directly to Divinity Hall, then you can pick it up by 5:30. But please pick it up. We also want to go home, so I don't want to wait here forever. No offense, I know it's awesome, but like, thanks in advance. And then the final thing I just want to highlight for you all is the way that we're going to be in panels in this room until about 4 o'clock, I think it is, in the schedule. And so then after that, we're going to go right across the street. If you're wanting to, for the Center for the Study of World Religions is having this awesome open house that they're going to have folks all come in, their staff come in. It is actually also not only a research center, but a residential space, and they'll have some tours of the apartments there. So definitely, if you can make it, please join us. It's awesome. That's at 4 o'clock. It's at the end of the schedule, so you'll be able to see it. The registration table, which is in the lobby of Andover where you checked in, that's going to be open until 4:30 today. So if you have any questions, you want directions, if you're with a guest who's like, hey, I want to go do something else, I want a recommendation for a coffee shop or something, just go to the registration desk. All your questions are going to be answered there. And that's it for me. So without further ado, I am really privileged to present to you all the Associate Dean for Enrollment and Student Services, Tim Wolski.
Thank you, Margaret. Thank you very much. Welcome again and good morning. Thanks for being here. So we've really, as Margaret was just sort of alluding to, we've densely packed the day to provide you an opportunity to choose your own adventure and do some thinking about Harvard Divinity School and what we have to offer. So we're trying to design things around sort of two focal points. So one is, what is this degree all about? So how would you be spending your time? What does it take to earn the degree? Why would you choose one degree over the other, the MTS versus the MDiv, or vice versa, or the THM if you're here considering that? And then how would you afford it? How would you rearrange your life in order to make that happen? And what that's all about and what the experience would be like when you're here on campus. And then the other portion of what you should think about, which we can do a little less easily in person here today, is think about what would you do with that degree afterward. So what is the work that you want to do in the world? How would an MTS or an MDiv or a THM meet your needs, or a doctoral degree? How would that meet your needs? How would that enhance your ability to do the work in the world that you want to do? And one of the things that we find is people have misconceptions about what they would do with a divinity degree or with an education from Harvard Divinity School. So one of the things that we would really think would be great if you would use your time over the next opportunities in the panels and in conversations and lunchtime conversations to really get to hear and think about and know the stories of the people who are part of this community. So just like these folks have shared a little bit about what they're doing with you, really try to look past the Harvard name and look past all of the details and the hustle and bustle of the schedule, and just get to know some people as well as you can while you're here. I think that's going to give you the best sense of what the community has to offer and what we can provide to you. So hopefully that will simplify things a little bit while you're here. We hope you have a really good time and enjoy yourselves, ask hard questions, ask good questions. Like Margaret said, if you have any curiosities or things that you need addressed, please go to the front table and ask one of our staff at the registration desk, and we'll be here for you. So, without any further ado, I want to introduce our dean to you, who's going to give our formal address and formal welcome. Let's see. So our dean, David Hempton, was appointed dean of Harvard Divinity School in July of 2012, after joining the Faculty of Divinity in the spring of 2007. Before coming to HDS, he was university professor and professor of history of Christianity at Boston University. And prior to that appointment, he was professor of modern history and director of the School of History at Queen's University, Belfast. In 2008, after just a year of being here, he was awarded our Outstanding Teacher of the Year award. He's a social historian of religion with expertise in populist traditions of evangelicalism in Europe, North America, and beyond, and is a fellow of the Royal Historical Society. He received his BA at Queen's University, Belfast, and his PhD at the University of St. Andrews. And whether traveling to campaign for the future resources of our school or attending events in the evening and lectures here in the Sperry Room, Dean Hempton is always present, always listening, and always advocating for HDS to live up to its highest aspirations and possibilities. So without further ado, our Dean, David Hempton.
Thanks, Tim. Welcome to HDS. Good morning. Good morning. I'm sure you've traveled from all kinds of distances, so thank you so much for being here. Welcome to all those watching live stream as well. Thanks for your interest in us. So I'm David Hempton, Dean of the Divinity School, and thanks for your interest in coming here and making the effort to visit with us and to find out more about who we are and how we can help you fulfill your aspirations. You can tell my accent is Irish. I was born in Belfast in Northern Ireland a very long time ago, and then went to the local university, Queen's University of Belfast, more or less at the same time as the Troubles broke out in Northern Ireland, and spent quite a lot of my student life, adult life, professorial life in Belfast during those years. And then just when peace broke out in 1998, I decided to come to the United States. and then spent some time in, in Boston University. And I've got some water. Yeah. And then came to Harvard about 11 years ago, and have been dean for 7 years. It feels like a day, a long day. So I encourage you to make the best possible use of the time you have with us today. Today's panel presentations and conversations with faculty, staff, and students are great resources to get to know us better in our programs. Do make an effort to find out as much as you can. As Tim said, you'll hear from faculty about the degree programs, from students and administrators about student life and the services available at HDS to support our students. And you'll have the opportunity to meet with faculty over lunch and to pose some of your questions more directly, and I'll see some of you at lunch as well. I'm on the 1 to 2 slot there. And this afternoon, you'll be able to visit the Centre for the Study of World Religions across the street. That's all, which is a great resource for scholars to live, study, and work together. It's a pioneering institute for the study of world religions. You'll find out about financial aid, about admissions applications process and funding, and all of those really important details. So I'd like to just use the time I have now to highlight some of the reasons that I believe make HDS a unique and special place. And to answer the question, why Harvard and why Harvard Divinity School? Why would you come here? My favorite answer to that is why not? So I'll spend maybe about 10 or 15 minutes on this, and then we'll take some questions. So here are 4 reasons that you might want to consider joining us. Intellectual opportunity, what I would call illuminate. Engagement with the religious dimensions of the great issues of our time, what I would call engagement. Diversity, inclusion, and belonging, and how important that is to us and how we're thinking about that. And then preparing for the future, which I call service. Weren't those great career opportunities? How did I miss those? So the first is intellectual opportunity, illuminate. HCS is a great school and a great university in a great city. 2 cities, actually, separated by a river, Cambridge and Boston. And I think it's a great school largely because it is in a great university. Those 2 things are connected. So situating the study of religion in the context of a great university increasingly matters. So we have a clear mission, which is to educate scholars of religion for intellectual leadership, professional service, and ministry. Our aim is to create a divinity school in which scholars and professionals from around the globe research and teach religion from around the globe in service of a just world at peace across religious and cultural divides. That's our mission statement. And our motto is to illuminate, engage, and serve. We know our alums and our community are committed to those values, even when we don't always live up to them perfectly. In the recent QS World Ratings of graduate schools, Harvard is ranked the best place in the world to study religion and theology. I always say that when we come top in the ratings, and I always ignore the ratings when we don't. They're only correct when we're top of the ratings. It's just the way they work. So as you know, Harvard is America's oldest university and one of the great universities in the world. It is an extraordinary place. The Divinity School not only has its own rich history and traditions, but we're situated in a university city of 10 schools and a major research institute. It is a very expansive place. That range of expertise gives us a better chance to answer the big religion and questions. And we try and, have as close relations as we can with the Kennedy School, the Law School, School of Public Health, the Medical School, the Education School, and so on. It just gives a tremendous range of opportunity. There is always something amazing happening here on this campus every day, every evening, every week. We're also members of the Boston Theological Institute, which opens up another feast of opportunities for courses and conversations. So we partner with other distinguished schools in the environment, Boston University, Boston College, and others as well. So we are very much part of President Faust and now President Baco's One Harvard vision, and are busily developing connections with the other schools at Harvard. And our alums frequently pay tribute to the scale of opportunity to take courses throughout Harvard, which is just a tremendous range of possibilities. I spoke to a student just at a party on Friday afternoon who got interested in medieval Welsh spirituality, which I'm sure all of you must be. And of course she found that we have a medieval Welsh language specialist at Harvard and Celtic studies, and is taking courses. And that's true of many languages. Harvard is a kind of feast of language instruction, so if you have a passion for languages or want to study something in which language is really an important component, it's a great place to be. You will also have access to one of the world's great library systems and the best university library system in the world at Harvard. 70 libraries, over 20 million volumes. It's a remarkable resource for teachers and students alike. I hear the comment often from our faculty, students and alumni that our libraries and the treasures one can find in them is one of our greatest resources at Harvard. So come and take advantage of a cutting-edge research library in religious studies. Take a library tour and find out more about them. They really are pearls of great price. I've worked in a number of universities in my life and have written a number of books on very different subjects with different geographical, global focus. And I can honestly say that being a scholar here is a tremendous blessing, and just to be able to go and find what you need almost instantly. And it's the same is true in scheduling research papers for students and so on. I remember I was an undergraduate at a university and then later taught at a university. It's a very fine university, but we had to have very skillfully designed rotas so that we weren't teaching the same topics at the same time because the library resources were so thin to sustain, serious intellectual work. That isn't a problem here. You'll also come to a place with a distinguished faculty who are at the forefront of their subjects and disciplines. And we're expanding our faculty in important areas, so we're growing, not declining. We have recently tenured 6 new faculty members and have 2 searches planned for the spring, with more slated for next year. Every year we also have exciting visiting professors from all over the United States and the wider world who come to HDS to teach and do their research. Each year we have 5 visiting associates to the Women's Studies and Religion program who teach a course with us. In recent years, we've brought in scholars and public intellectuals like Cornel West and E.J. Dionne, Terry Tempest Williams, an environmental activist and writer. So it's a place where there's a really vibrant exchange of ideas and people with real talent and expertise. So that's the first. It does offer intellectual opportunity. The second point I would like to make is around engagement. This is self-evidently an important moment in our national and global affairs, to be thinking creatively about the great issues of our time. As you all know, there are remarkable and sometimes alarming things going on in the world order, from our own country to Brazil to Turkey to Middle East to it feels like a difficult time to be facing up to some of these issues. So we try and offer ways of thinking about these problems around religion and political culture, religion, conflict and peace building, climate change, international refugee crisis, racial justice and its multiple accompanying and the discriminations that need to be resisted, the future of democratic institutions, ethics in public life, and so on. One thing I found going up to Queen's University Belfast as an undergraduate in 1970, just as the Troubles literally pretty well broke out the year before, is that for all the, and of course I thought what a terrible choice I'd made to be in a city that was literally falling apart and a government that collapsed and with troops on the streets and so on and so on. But the one thing I gained from that is that it teaches you to care and to take a stand and to find out things. So however difficult our situation is and however difficult the global situation is, I think this is a moment to care and to think through what we stand for and what you're going to devote your life to. So we live in angry and dangerous times, and we're going to need more leaders who are religiously literate and who have a deep desire to make the world a better place. We're committed to helping you think about these issues, but I want to be absolutely honest with you that we are primarily an educational institution with an educational mission. We are not predominantly an activist political pressure organization. That's just who we are, and I want to be straight up with that so that you don't feel disappointed or misinformed or whatever. We can help you think, we can encourage you to get involved, but our primary mission is education. And that's what we're good at, and that's what we should primarily stick to. Having said that, we do endeavour to be a school that speaks to important issues about the role of religion in the United States and the wider world. I call these zip lines from the ivory tower. We're not simply isolated people. We've started a Religions and Practice of Peace initiative, which is now in its 5th year. We've invested in massive online courses. We have a religious literacy initiative, which is doing extraordinary work from K1 through K12, but also in bigger projects around the university and the wider world. We're a kind of crossroads school in that sense, where many roads can come together and move off in different directions, because religion, as you know, is central to so many aspects of human life, whether it's palliative care and end-of-life issues, whether it's how to live peacefully in a divided world, and so on and so on. So we engage in topical conversations about the big issues surrounding religion in the modern world. So we try to do that. This semester alone, we partnered with the School of Public Health and 5 Anglican bishops in sub-Saharan Africa to contribute to the eradication of malaria in our lifetime, which is a possibility, a difficult possibility, but a possibility. Still, very large numbers of people in the world die from malaria, even though the scientific equipment and knowledge exists to prevent this disease. But how to do that? We opened up our year this year with an interview and discussion with Professor Atul Gawande, the author of Being Mortal, a New York Times bestseller about end-of-life issues and how to think better about them. And you can see this on the web, actually. It's a very interesting conversation. We contributed some resources and some expertise to 2 important films. Notes from Dunblane, which is a film which won the Tribeca Film Festival Short Documentary Award, and it's about 2 parish priests, one in Dunblane in Scotland and one in Newtown, Connecticut, both of whom suffered mass school shootings in their parishes. Dunblane back in the 1990s and Newtown, Connecticut much more recently. And the film is really about these 2 parish priests who strike up a friendship over the trauma and the grief and the tragedies that they encountered in dealing with these terrible events. On Monday, we had a showing of a new film, Song for Cesar, based on the life story of Cesar Chavez. And the film's real take is the importance of music and the arts and drama and creativity in coming around that movement of farm workers to get fair pay and conditions in the United States in the 1960s, 70s, and 80s. So we try and open up conversations like that. We have partnered with the Planetary Health Alliance on the Constellation Project around climate change and how we can get interested and informed about that. We've had conferences on West Africa and the Maghreb looking at Islamic pilgrimage routes in West Africa and through to the Middle East from the 10th century onwards. We've had a major conference on religion and the professions, the fourth in a list of those conferences. And this one was on media and entertainment. How does religion get portrayed in the media and the entertainment industry? And we've got a forthcoming RPP colloquium, Religions and Practice of Peace colloquium, on super cooperation and the future of our human family, evolutionary dynamics, altruistic virtues, and spiritual resources by the very eminent Harvard professor of mathematics and biology, Martin Nowak, looking at what you can get from mathematical systems and evolutionary biological systems towards human cooperation and altruism, and what are the scientific bases of such possibilities. So these are the kind of conversations we try to model as we go about our, in addition obviously to the classes. So that's the second point. The third point is around diversity, inclusion, and belonging. You will come to an already diverse and eclectic place, probably the most religiously diverse divinity school in the United States. And we would love it to be even more diverse. So come and add to that diversity and leave your own mark at HTS. Over the last year or two, President Faust appointed a university-wide task force to, and I'm just going to get the report out now to show you, on inclusion and belonging at Harvard, this report here, which just came out a few months ago. It's an extensive look at what the university is doing well and what the university is doing badly. It's an honest report of where we are. We have just added our own report to that last week. Submitted it to this central office that's coordinating the university work on inclusion and belonging. So you will come to a place that takes religious pluralism seriously in a world that seriously needs it. We're in the fortunate position to have at least 3 distinguished faculty members with expertise in 5 of the world's great religious traditions here at the Divinity School and in wider Harvard, Christianity, Islam, Hinduism, Buddhism, and Judaism. We also have scholars working on indigenous religious traditions in Latin America, Cuba, Australia, and West Africa. America's world-famous religious pluralism project was started at Harvard under the leadership of my colleague Dan Eck and just celebrated its 25th anniversary. But again, I want to be absolutely honest with you. We are not perfect in this area. We are not perfect in this area. Like the world in which we live, we're a work in progress. We make mistakes. Sometimes we fall on our face. But we do want to be better, and we are trying to be better in this whole realm, so that Harvard is a genuinely, and Harvard Divinity School is a diverse, inclusive place where people can feel that they really belong, not just exist at, but belong at, and that's a bigger word, how to belong. And then fourthly, preparing for the future, what I would call service. And you've seen quite a lot of this already. Whatever the program you choose, we have a very strong record of placing our students, whether in field education programs in the United States and beyond, or in the top doctoral programs, or in full-time employment. So we try hard through our career services to keep you informed, open up opportunities, connect you with networks, see the full range of possibilities. And we also have a vigorous alumni network, some of whom you saw on the video. So check out these videos online, over 135, Tim was saying, in which former alums talk about their time at HDS, their career paths, which sometimes led them towards unforeseen and wonderful directions. I speak to alums all over the world who said they came to HDS to do something and they changed their mind after a year or two and decided they wanted to do something else. And that happened, and that's good. So those four things, intellectual opportunity, engagement with the big issues of our time, diversity, inclusion, and belonging, and preparing for the future are four things that I would like to highlight as being special things, important things at the Divinity School. There's much else goes on here, of course, but that's my attempt to kind of sum up what I think is particularly special about the Divinity School. And just to reiterate that first point, I think it is a great school because it's in a great university. That access to so many other things that are going on and the partnerships we're able to try to build and the opportunities that you will have, I think is so much stronger than a freestanding Divinity School, which could never possibly hope to emulate that. But of course, some other great schools in the country are in that fortunate position as well. So I think I'll stop there. Thank you so much for your attention. And I can take some questions now. I think we have about 10 minutes or so. So if you just wait to, there'll be a microphone going around the room. If you just maybe just say your name and ask your question, and a question is always a sentence with a full stop at the, or with a question mark at the end. Anyway, thank you so much.
Hi, my name is Adam. Thank you for having us. I live here locally, and as you were talking about some of the partnerships that the Divinity School has formed, and the guests and the discussions that you've had,
Yeah.
I'm just curious, are these topics or alliances chosen by staff, or do students have any input in some of the issues or guests they would like to see or hear?
Yeah, well, definitely students have input. I mean, I guess the decision making is more of a partnership, but I guess mostly the staff, the faculty, decide the things that they're interested in mostly. We have started, 3 or 4 initiatives. The Religions and Practice of Peace, which now has a 5-year record of colloquia, and other events around the Sustainable Peace Initiative at Harvard. You can go on our website and look at programs and look at the Religions Practice of Peace. Look at the Religious Literacy Initiative. All of these have classes, student cafes, student assistants working with them and helping them. I mean, obviously, on one level, the expertise that goes into some of the selection of people who come from is expertise that's generated, at the faculty level. But of course, we'd be interested in suggestions of who to bring here. And students, run their own events as well. We had a tremendous panel here a few weeks ago on the refugee and asylum crisis in the world, talking about the 65 million people who are now displaced in our world, the highest number ever, I think. And that was a purely student-led, student-run event. So it's a little bit of both, but as you can imagine, some of them, I mean, the West Africa and the Maghreb Conference, for example, was really the initiative of one of our senior professors, who's from West Africa and has a special interest in North Africa as a region. Does that?
Yes,
yeah.
thank you.
Thank you. Don't be shy. Yeah, one here. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Seth Davis. So I work in international development,
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, like what specifically, like either in dual degrees or specific classes perhaps, what does like Harvard Divinity have in relation to international development? I'm very interested in the intersections of international development and religion and peace.
Yeah.
So I'm just interested in that.
Yeah. Well, there's, I mean, Tim, you might need to help me out a little bit about this, but so we don't have joint degrees, we have dual degrees, so you can do that with the Kennedy School. I think it would be a 3-year program for their master's and the Fletcher School at Tufts as well is a possibility. So that's one option. Another is just to take courses over there at the Kennedy School. Can we take courses at Tufts as well, or not really? Not as easily, yeah. So the Kennedy School would be the most. But they're also, you know, depending on your areas of interest. I mean, the School of Public Health obviously has a... so that, you know, conference that we put on around malaria was really just trying to bring their top scientists together with on-the-ground religious and spiritual leaders in sub-Saharan Africa to see together how that can make, because you know the School of Public Health people were saying that you know, they have the science, but they often lack access to, especially the more remote areas, which many of these religious traditions do have that access and do have some kind of moral leadership that they can exercise. So I think you'll find the Kennedy School, I would guess, is probably your most, but also Tufts, Fletcher School. And those would be 2 of the very top international relations schools in the country. I think 2 of the top 5 probably. So it's another, you know, it's a great, Boston is a great opportunity. And even if if you can, you know, just trust your own initiative, even just meandering over to these places and figuring out what's going on and going to events and so on. It's an open door in that sense to you. On the course selection, there are some restrictions, but not very important ones, really. There's a tremendous amount of freedom to go and surf the Harvard course network. Yeah.
Hi.
Oh, yeah.
Hi, my name is Amir, and thank you for sharing your insights. You talked about the school's values, but as a leader, can you speak more to the school's leadership's vision for the school?
Yeah, that's a great question. That is a great question. So I think my vision for the school, when I took over as dean, was to, I think the zip lines from the ivory tower is what I really believe in. You know, that we just don't keep our knowledge bottled up for our own consumption, but that we do try to make a difference in the world as much as we can. I spoke about values at a talk I gave at Memorial Church, these little 5-minute talks that people from around. So I think that's on the web, which would be kind of interesting for you to look at. I was kind of interested in what are the kind of values that shape who we are. We have a statement of community values, which is very important to us, which I'd encourage you to read. It's on our website. It has to do with mutual respect, respect of difference, treating each other civilly, trying to model the kind of behavior that we'd like to see in the world around us. Going on down the line, what's the vision for the school? I think it's been quite clear that over the past 20 years, and maybe even longer, beginning with the establishment of the Center for the Study of World Religions and the Women's Studies and Religion program, that we've been particularly interested, and then with the Religious Literacy Initiative, we've been particularly interested in expanding our expertise from specifically Christian tradition, not abandoning that or treating that less seriously, but making it much more of a multi-faith school of divinity. And I think that's something that would be widely known in the United States as the particular characteristic of the Harvard Divinity School. We've also, tried to pioneer as best we can this Women's Studies and Religion program and bringing to the attention of the United States scholarly community and beyond, just the contributions that women are making to scholarship and to public life around the world, and that takes in associates from all over the world. It's not just a United States program. So those would be some things that I would say. I mean, obviously, I started the Religion and Practice of Peace initiative, and to think as deeply as we can about how we can mobilize our intellectual energy and moral values to see how religious traditions can be resources for peace building and not for conflict. And to try and use what we're doing this year in particular is to try and partner with other parts of Harvard to see what best knowledge they have. So Martin Nowak coming here we're hoping to put on a colloquium jointly with the business school around the importance of prosperity and generating economic development in peace building, which is not just a kind of soppy thing to do, but needs real. We've partnered in the past with the program of negotiation at the law school to try and make sure that we're not just doing this in a soft way. In other words, having lived through the troubles in Northern Ireland, the thing I have least patience for is just naive talk about problems. We just don't have time for that. So thinking honestly about that. And I would say that, so those are some things that I would say are really important to us. We're at the process now of being able to hire, probably over the next 3 or 4 years, maybe 6 or 7 younger scholars. And we'll be starting this beginning this spring. And so we are, as a school, reflecting on that very question. Where would we want to be in 10 years' time? And how would we get there? And what kind of academic expertise do we need for that? And that's an open and very kind of stimulating conversation, because do we replace like for like, or do we begin to step out into what will be for us new areas of so anyway, that's probably a long answer to a very short and well-framed question. Thank you. Yeah, there's someone here, I think, and then maybe someone at the back. I'll try and be shorter. We've got 2 or 3 minutes.
Thank you so much. My name is Ilaf Farajallah, and I've actually flown in all the way from the Middle East, from Sudan. And nobody has told me that it will be this cold here, so I'm still freezing.
I see. This is nothing yet, believe me. Come back in January, February.
7 layers, 8 layers. So I guess you really caught my attention when you mentioned about the work that you've done considering malaria. I'm a physician, and I've practiced in East Africa for a while, and I can't tell you the kind of devastation that a disease like that has on entire communities as a whole. I'm really interested about the intersection between science and faith.
Right.
And I think I've come here to explore that more.
Yeah.
As the dean of this illustrious institute, you speak so proudly of its achievements. I guess my question is, what is your proudest achievement concerning your students during the time that they spent here?
Oh, wow, that's a great question.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm both proud of the school, but also I hope realistic about it. I always try to be absolutely honest about our shortcomings as well as our strengths. We're a relatively small school of 45 faculty and a whole bunch of people who offer teaching and instruction, maybe up to 80 to 100, but we're not enormous.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of our students, I think you just saw in that video, what I get from traveling around the country representing the school, not just the country but the wider world, is just 2 or 3 things. One is just the intellectual accomplishments of our students who go on into doctoral programs and into university teaching and do change, like that Women's Studies and Religion program has changed the way we think about women and religion in the United States and beyond. I think the proudest achievement I can point to is just the rich diversity of positions and influence that our students go on to exercise, around the world. Just 2 weeks ago, I had in my office, Sean Casey, who was the senior director in the previous administration for religion and global affairs, and had a major impact in that job for a while until a different regime. Susie Hayward, who's in the Religion U.S. Institute of Peace, is an alum. So I think the proudest achievements of our school are our students. That's what we do, and more than just some kind of institution or something. I mean, the institution is just the site where it happens. It's the lives that are changed and go out into doing something that really makes a difference. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
A couple of questions. Yeah, I know you've got to move on in about 2 or 3 minutes.
Hi, my name is Linda, and I know you've mentioned mid-career students. Do you have any post-career students to put a perspective on that? You and I are the same age. So I'm interested in sort of I'm a recently retired family physician in a small town in Maine, and I'm really interested in sort of a career path that might include being a parish doctor as opposed to parish nurse, and have other interests as well in hospice care and substance abuse counseling.
Yeah, that's a great question, actually. So we are getting, I think, increasing numbers of students who, like you, have had distinguished careers of service, who are looking for what happens next and how can they use that previous expertise with some new knowledge to go off in a new direction. We even started it's not a very good word for it, but an executive education program last year, specifically to address that, to get people here for a week on our campus in this kind of position to think through some of those issues. So I would say, my advice to you would be to, bring your expertise, which we really need, and then start figuring out with our careers office and other contacts you can make here, the networks you'd be connected to see what the real possibilities are. It's a great, I think it is a place. I do meet a lot of alums who came here and had their life's journey significantly changed by the opportunity that they had here. So I think it is a real, it's a place where you can follow those aspirations and try to figure them out. Sometimes it takes a little bit of proactive initiative just to chase things down. But the thing we learn at our age is that that's what you got to do. Thanks. Maybe one more question, and then, yeah.
Hi, my name's Jeremy Barber. You've spoken about sort of the values and the mission going forward, things that you're proud of. What are the things that keep you up at night when you look forward?
Wow. That's one of the things that keep me up at night. A lot of things keep me up at night. Things that keep me up at night, I think. So here's what I would say to that question. I think that I think we're in a tough spot in our country. I didn't ever expect to live and work in a place as partisan and divided as the one I left in Northern Ireland. But I see many of the same traits, and a kind of rush to, whether it's cable news or whatever it happens to be, a rush to the extreme edges, either right or left. And I am concerned about that. I'm concerned about the wider world. There's definitely been a swing to populist right all over the world in the last 10 years. I think that's very alarming. I think climate change is extremely alarming. So I think, for your generation, for me, my generation back in Ireland, it was, had a, figure out what a peace process might look like, or what contribution you could make. I think for most of you folks in the room, I do think it is a very challenging time, and what keeps me up at night is you often don't see the kind of leadership that you can really rally around to make a difference. Not just who wins, but can we together build something stronger? And we're not, there's no place insulated from this. I have found, I will say this honestly, the last 2 or 3 years to be the most difficult time being dean. I think more people are angry, more people are anxious, more people want something from an institution, for an institution to do something. And sometimes that's realistic and sometimes it's unrealistic. And sometimes it's hard being a dean to say, no, we can't do that, or that's not what we're in the, it's not our primary responsibility. But also being a dean wanting to not duck the moment. None of us can afford just to keep our head down and say it doesn't matter, or I just go to the beach or play golf or whatever it might happen to be. But it is a challenging time, and it's a time when we need frank and honest conversations. And sometimes I feel we're not fully up to it. That there are times I feel that we almost park ourselves in our resentments or in our fears about, and those are legitimate. I'm not underestimating the legitimacy of those feelings, but somehow to rise above that and get into positive directions and try and make a difference. So I think of all the things that keep me up at night, it would be that, to try and use these moments, all of you, to contribute to something bigger and grander than just another partisan dogfight.
That's a great answer.
Thanks. Okay, look, thank you so much, and I'll see many of you at lunch later today. So thank you. Sorry for keeping you.
No, thank you so much.